Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder, still kicking it with the Apex team, as we're just gonna jump right into it. So my rating actually fell by a bit because while I was looking for the first battle of the day, I found an opponent, got into team preview, and then it disconnected on my end, so I ended up losing points, which really sucked. So I'm not sure if the weather around here is still affecting it since we had some pretty bad weather last night as well, but hopefully we'll be able to not pick up any disconnections and continue it. I'm thinking of actually making a compilation video of all these crazy DCs during the bad weather and whatnot, but yeah, hopefully we can reach over 1850 plus after today's episode, as I actually managed to break it after yesterday's, but then the disconnection happened. But yeah, so still kicking it with the Apex team. If you want to watch the individual matches, Team Spooky actually uploaded all of them on YouTube, as Dan from Canada with a rating of 1705 is going to be our first opponent of the day. I'll link the playlist in the description below, that way you can check out all the matches. There are a lot of exciting games, so definitely check it out if you want to watch some great Pokemon games. Dan here's got a team of Hariyama, Escavalier, Cresselia, Sylveon, Camerupt, and Porygon 2, so immediately that screams Trick Room. The Escavalier, Porygon 2, Hariyama, Camerupt, Cresselia all kind of indicate that. So now the real question is whether my opponent has the Mental Herb on Cresselia or not. If my opponent does not, then I can just leave Gengar and taunt it immediately to shut it down. But this is actually not the best matchup. Suicune here is good, just because it can take Camerupt's attacks. Of course it is bulky in the defenses, so it can take Hariyama and the Escavalier rather well. But I actually don't have many good answers to Cresselia plus Hariyama, which is kind of the issue right now. So I gotta figure out who I want to lead with. Mega Venusaur actually does not like playing against Cresselia whatsoever. In general, not exactly the best Pokemon in this matchup. It's alright, just doesn't do very well against Cresselia or Escavalier, but against the rest of my opponent's team can do reasonably well. So figuring out who I want to lead with here is really tough. I think I'm definitely going to go with Gengar though. That one is just kind of a given. Now the question is who I want to pair with Gengar. I'm leaning towards Suicune, but the thing is Suicune doesn't have as much offensive pressure as, say, Bisharp does. So I might actually go with Bisharp instead. Yeah, I'm thinking Bisharp, Suicune, and Venusaur in the back. That makes sense to me. Venusaur can switch into Hariyama's attacks. Actually, Heatran's not bad here. It's just I don't want to get close combated or earth powered by the camera, because if Trick Room goes up, Heatran is just not in a great position. So I'm leaning towards Venusaur. So I'm actually just going to lock in and go with that. Not going to bring the Terrakion just because, while it's nice, it gets one-hit KO'd by almost all of my opponent's team. You know, the Camerupt, the Escavalier, Cresselia, Sylveon, Hariyama. Cresselia not a one-hit KO, but after a close combat special defense drop, it will be. So, I'm going to try to make my matchup a bit better, as my opponent does go with the expected Cresselia Hariyama leads. Let's see. So, I really think it has Mentor, but I don't know, I feel like I should still just go for the taunt. Because if it doesn't, then my opponent's just done for. I'll also go for the knockoff onto Crest, though I expect a fake out going onto the Bisharp right now. Fake out does go out onto Bisharp. Let's see if that Cresselia has Mentor. If it doesn't have Mentor, I think my opponent's just basically done for. Oh, it doesn't have Mentor. Okay. That's great news for me, actually. I feel like on a team that dedicates itself to hardcore Trick Room like my opponent's, Mentor would be such a good item, but not going to be the case there. But hey, I'm not going to complain by any means. Let's see now. So I'm still in a good position, but my opponent does have a lot of offense with both that Hariyama and Cresselia. I'm thinking of Sludge Bombing Hariyama to put it in double target KO range the following turn. Just because Bisharp's pretty important in this matchup, and I can't afford to just let it faint to a close combat. So yeah, I'm just going to Sludge Bomb Hariyama and protect with Bisharp this turn. I'm fine if my opponent Psychics me, but Cresselia actually switches out, which is even better, into Escavalier. I don't mind that switch at all, just because now I can burn it. So I'm feeling pretty good about my position, just because I prevented the Trick Room up going from the beginning. And once again, I can't stress, I think Mentor would have been such a good item there. But Hariyama is going to get poisoned by the Sludge Bomb as he just close combats into Bisharp. Perfect. Wondering what ability that Hariyama has. I would guess Guts. If it is Guts, I just increased its attacking power. But I'm going to Will-O-Wisp with Escavalier here. Iron Head should be able to knock out Hariyama, so I'm just going to go straight for that. Though I don't know, Hariyama is a bulky Pokemon, especially after having used it so much, but wow, we see Bullet Punch coming out. Okay. As Willows connects with the Escavalier, does it have Lumberry? That might be a potential item. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't. So wow, just my opponent not having any of the items I'm expecting it to, as Ironhead was able to knock out the Hariyama there, of course, boosted by the Life Orb. So Bullet Punch, interesting, and that's not a move you see on Hariyama too often, as Knockoff comes out from the Escavalier onto Gengar, does pick up the KO there, so nice swing of momentum for my opponent there, because now he can switch in Cresselia, though getting Escavalier burned was really good as well, as I'm definitely going to bring in Suicune here. I would expect to see Cresselia, but let's see. The thing is, my opponent's last Pokemon is either going to be Camerupt or Sylvia, most likely the Camerupt, and if it is, then I have Suicune, which kind of just walls the Camerupt, so I'm not really worried about my position right now as this guy, or as Cresselia, excuse me, does come in. I'm just going to Scald the Escavalier here and go for the, actually I can double target Crest, though I'm not, yeah, I'm gonna go for the double target because if I do KO it, then that's basically a win right there. And even if it doesn't KO, like Escavalier is not the threat right now. But yeah, that should be a KO. So perfect. As it's Rocky Helmet there, makes sense. But once again, I can't stress. I think Mentor would have been such a better item. As Suicune's gonna get the Skull here and is gonna be able to pick up the knockout. In retrospect, I also could have doubled into Escavalier, but of course, Protect was a possible move there as it goes for another knockoff. So. Not targeting my Bisharp here. I feel like if it has the Mega Horn, it could have potentially knocked out my Bisharp, but Bisharp being able to stick around for longer is really important just because it is the best Pokemon in this matchup in terms of offense. And Camerupt does come out for my opponent here, so all I have to do is Scald it and knock off the Escavalier. So yeah, I feel like the kind of course of this game was really dictated by that very first turn. And that's why I would at least, if you're running such a hardcore Trick Room team, I feel like Mentor might make a bit more sense. Rocky Helmet definitely makes sense, but I don't know, if you're dedicating yourself so hard to Trick Room, you basically need to ensure yourself that Trick Room actually manages to go up, as Akaberry is actually the item from Escavalier there. Suicune Scald, not going to KO the Camerupt, but Escavalier going for the Drill Run here, targeting Bisharp, pretty cool animation there, so oh wow, it doesn't even knock me out, as Escavalier feints to the burn, so. Yeah, so that's the interesting thing about Trick Room teams. I mean, most teams that you see with Trick Room don't, you know, have like 6 Pokemon that can dedicate themselves to Trick Room, just because if you do have a team that's so slow, it basically says if you don't get Trick Room up, you're in a lot of trouble, as really was the case for this match. You know, there's so many examples of Trick Room teams in history that have had fast Pokemon as well. For example, I think a really good example is, you know, the team that Ryosuke and I used at 2013 Worlds, where we had Pokemon like Landorus T and Thundurus and Rotom Wash, which could function perfectly well outside of Trick Room. But for my opponent here, you know, relying on Pokemon like Escavalier and Camerupt, those are Pokemon that really need Trick Room to go up, because otherwise they're just going to get attacked and KO'd beforehand. So Escavalier is also interesting because my brother won the 2013 World Championships with it in the Juniors division. Haven't seen it really used. It really was just never that popular in general, but it made sense on my brother's team. So we're going to pick up a win there as we jump back into it, and we're 5 points away from 1850 plus. But I think it is cool to at least feature an Archetype team, kind of like that, just because Trick Room is a very popular strategy in VGC. You know, it's used every year to really great success, regardless of the format. Just, it manages to work every year, as we're going to find a second opponent really quickly, an 1804 rated player from Japan, with a team of, ooh, wow, this is interesting, Zapdos, Amoonguss, Landorus, Tyranitar, Aegislash, and Blaziken. That's the real interesting one to me there. Don't know if it's Mega Blaziken or not, just because Tyranitar is on my opponent's team as well, but would not be surprised to see if it, would not be surprised to see a Mega Blaziken. Pretty standard team otherwise in terms of Pokemon, Zapdos, Amoonguss. Amoonguss, of course, very annoying to deal with, but I feel like Venusaur is pretty solid here, just because it can take hits. Can kind of wall, and Amoonguss can't Spore, which is really important. One of the reasons why I like Venusaur is because it prevents Amoonguss Spore spam, and because you can attack through Rage Powders, which is really awesome. So definitely going to want to bring that Venusaur. The question, always the question, is who do I want to lead with? Now, Gengar is always kind of my go-to lead, but the thing is, Gengar does not like going up against that Tyranitar or Aegislash at all. Though Gengar Bisharp's actually kind of solid here. Though I get the feeling of my opponent's going to lead with the the Blaziken. This is why, I mean, VGC is such a matchup-based game. It's like, if you can call the correct leads and get the optimal lead matchup, you're in such a good position already. But if you don't call it, you know, you're not in a very good position. So that's why I tend to go with the safest leads, as opposed to going all in with 2 leads where I know I can beat my opponent half the time and then just lose the other half. I'd rather just have a lead matchup where I can, you know, safely switch in or whatnot, just to give myself a better position right from the start, regardless of who my opponent leads with. Right now, I'm leaning towards Gengar and Bisharp, though, with Venusaur in the back. So let's see. Gengar, Bisharp. I guess the real issue here is if my opponent leads with Blaziken Tyranitar, because the Tyranitar could break my Focus Sash. Tyranitar, Blaziken. Okay, I'm gonna have Venusaur in the back, and I think Suicune is the last one to deal with Blaziken and Lando T. So that makes sense to me. Zapdos is one of the scarier Pokemon to go against with this team. Just electric types in general, because stab boosted Thunderbolts are really never fun to go up against. But I'm curious as to what my opponent has here, especially that Blaziken. I'd love to see my opponent actually bring it here. We are going to see Zapdos and Blaziken. Okay, against Gengar and Bisharp. Bisharp's going to want to get out of here immediately. Good leads by my opponent here. I think that actually counters everything I have pretty darn well. Blaziken here actually might just attack Bisharp. So I do want to Icy Wind, but the question is, do I want to stay in with Bisharp, expecting him to protect the Blaziken? You know, just Icy Wind and knock off the Zapdos, you know, making that big play, or do I want to just switch out into Venusaur? I don't know, if I were my opponent, I would definitely be protecting that Blaziken here. Let's see, but I do kind of need Bisharp for the rest of this match just because it beats Lando, Aegislash, and Tyranitar. So I don't know, it's not like Venusaur can really do much offensively either. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna go for, I hate playing it safe, but I can't afford to lose this Bisharp right now, just because it beats all of the rest of my opponent's Pokemon so darn well. So I'm gonna pull the switch, as it is Mega Blaziken. Though the issue is normal Venusaur does not have Big Fed, so if my opponent, for example, targeted that slot with a Fire type attack, I might just have walked into a huge trap. Okay, so good to see that Blaziken did not protect, so at least I don't lose Bisharp here. And I do get an Icy Wind off, which would negate a speed boost, but I think we might see a Fire type attack going into the Venusaur, and I think I just misplayed a bit. Okay, but Low Kick comes out. Thank goodness, as that did so much damage. That was definitely a crit, yeah. Oh wow, the Heat Wave coming out from Zapdos. I don't think it'll knock my Venusaur out, but still not good for me here. As another crit onto Gengar and the burn onto Venusaur. Wow, wow. Venusaur just took probably double the amount of damage it really should have this turn. Ah, man, 2 crits and a burn. That's unfortunate. That sets me back so much too. That's the main issue here. Okay, I really need to try to knock out this. Oh man, I'm in so much. I can't stress out how badly Venusaur taking that much damage was. Like, had Low Kick not crit and had Heat Wave not burned, I'd be over 50% right now, which would be perfectly fine. But the Zapdos and Blaziken lead here was just really bad. I actually just have no way to really deal with it in general. I'm thinking, what else? What could have I led with to give myself a better matchup? Perhaps just not leading with Bisharp, just because my opponent had the best way to counter Bisharp, but oh, that's definitely frustrating. I'm gonna go for the Sludge Bomb, I think, onto Zapdos, because once Zapdos goes down, at least Suicune can deal with Blaziken. I'm just gonna double into Zapdos here, and I don't know, if Blaziken protects, that would be nice, but I don't expect it to protect. Honestly, I can't see myself even. I'm trying to figure out how I can come back in this match after how bad of a turn that last turn was. And yeah, no protect coming out from that, so let's see how much Sludge Bomb does here. Decent amount that gets the poison, but we're still in a lot of trouble here, and it does have the Citrus Berry as well. Oh man, this Blaziken puts on so much offensive pressure, it's actually kind of crazy. Hidden Power coming out from Blaziken into Venusaur. Does pick up the KO there. I'm guessing HP Ice? If it didn't pick up the KO, that would have been pretty funny. As we do see a T-Bow going into Gengar, that's probably going to knock me out, yeah. So yeah, this is Zapdos Blaziken lead, man. Oh my gosh. I just don't have answers to it. That's the thing. As we do see another speed boost coming out from that Blaziken. So yeah, like that's such an offensive core, but it makes so much sense. Like I think it's just really powerful, and like I'm glad, you know, I'm losing to a Blaziken, but this team makes so much sense to me. Like to see that duo actually work is pretty cool, just because I haven't really seen like Blaziken being used effectively really at all. I have seen normal Blaziken, which Marcus Yoshi used, but this is the first time I'm seeing that kind of Blaziken. Oh no, let's see. I could protect Scald, but that play is kind of obvious. I don't know how I can even... Okay, the thing is, if I can pick up a knockout here onto the Blaziken, I can still win. Just because Aegislash, like I said, is essential in this matchup. So I want to just protect and Scald here, but I'm thinking my opponent might protect with the Blaziken, expecting that play. So I could make a big play here and go for the knockoff onto Zapdos, and the Tailwind. I don't know. I have to rely on my opponent misplaying at this point, so I'm just going to make the plays. Oh my gosh, we might be able to still come back and win this match. Let's see. Knockoff, KO here on Zapdos would be really nice. I don't know if I can. Oh, so close. Oh, I really needed that KO. If I could have KO'd there, I might have actually been able to come back. Let's see. Oh, it goes for a Roost. Okay. Ah, man. That's demoralizing, though. So close to picking up that knockout. As I do set up the Tailwind. Speed boost continually raising the Blaziken speed there, though, of course. I think I have to protect Scald here. I just can't lose Bisharp. And I know Suicune can take a Thunderbolt. Though we might actually see Blaziken switch out here. If it doesn't switch out, though, it's still possible. But that was definitely the window of opportunity I needed to try to at least come back into this match. But that second turn still was definitely pretty frustrating. Not sure how much all that luck mattered, but, I mean, 2 crits and a burn in one turn is always kind of nutty to see in general. But, you know, that is the risk you put yourself into when you pull out switches. So my opponent definitely got the better end of me by leading fantastically and countering my Bisharp. Which I thought was funny because in team preview, you know, I was talking about having the best leads possible, but when you go against Pokemon you don't normally see very often, for example, like Blaziken, you don't expect to actually see it in matches. At least I don't. I don't know. I should have expected the Blaziken lead a bit better. And yeah, even leading something like Gengar Venusaur would have been better. But anyway, I'm going to protect with Bisharp here. Blaziken doesn't switch out, so I might just be able to get a Scald off here, which would be really good. I would hope he can pick up a knockout. That would be great. As it does. Okay, we still living. As we're probably going to see a T-Bow going to the Suicune, but it should not knock me out as long as... Oh, wow, another Roost from the Zapdos. That was a really good play. I like that Roost play a lot. You know, don't give me the opportunity to KO the Zapdos the following turn. So, very smart on my opponent's end, and I'm fearing Amoonguss is going to come in here. If it is Amoonguss, I'm basically done for, I think. But I guess we'll find out. That's going to be Tyranitar, though. Okay. Wow. So, this game's still not over, that's for sure. That's for dang sure. Now, I could just Iron Head T-Tar for the KO here. But the Protect is so obvious. I mean, the thing is, if T-Tar doesn't... T-Tar probably has a way to KO Bisharp. I'm thinking it's a Fire-type attack or like a low kick. Okay. I'm going to Iron Head Tar, and I'm actually going to Snarl here, because Snarl is going to decrease the special attack. But with the Protect comes out from Tyranitar, so, I should have just went all in onto the Zapdos. But the reason why I'm going for Snarl here is so that Heat Wave is not a KO. Let's see what the Zapdos goes for. Oh, a Tailwind of its own! Very nice! So yeah, I think I should have made some big plays there and doubled into the Zapdos. So that was a misplay on my end, that's for sure. This game is still not over. Still not over. Okay, so my Tailwind has not worn out yet, so I can actually just Iron Head Tar here because I should be able to outspeed it and just go for an Ice Beam onto Zapdos. So yeah, I really should have doubled up into a Zapdos there with the knockoff and Snarl, but I just... Oh wow, Zapdos switches out! Into what? Amoonguss! Oh, but it outspeeds my Bisharp, so my opponent was running a fast Tar. Oh man, if I were able to outspeed the Tar there and pick up a KO with Iron Head, I might have actually been able to win, which is kind of crazy, but I think it's going to be a loss here, guys. As Ice Beam does a lot there, probably a crit, yeah. No freeze though, that's the one thing I needed to at least try to win this match. So yeah, I think if I knocked off and Ice Beam the Zapdos that turn, I might have been able to win. It was really one of those 50-50 plays, because I know if I were my opponent's shoes, I probably would have actually just low-kicked Bisharp right away. But, you know, I needed to make some big plays to come back into the game, and the Tailwind play was definitely good, but the Tar outspeeding there was very clutch as well. I'm going to try to knock out a Mungus here, as we do see Rock Slide coming out, but it's going to be a lost cause with Zapdos in the back. Very well played by my opponent's end. Very nicely done. As Mega Venusaur not being able to do anything was kind of a big issue here for me, because it just took way too much damage that turn I switched into the, you know, the crit low kick and the Heat Wave burn. Because Mega Venusaur is one of those Pokemon that kind of relies on being really bulky and annoying, but it just wasn't able to do anything. Zapdos is going to come out here, but with Suicune in that, you know, HP range, it's going to just feint to a T-Bolt. So, very cool team on my opponent's end. Knockoff not being able to knock out Zapdos there was really demoralizing, as obviously this Tyranitar very fast, getting such a speedy Rock Slide off, outspeeding my opponent's Zapdos. Gonna eat the Citrus Berry, but it's gonna be game here with the T-Bolt. As, let's see, should knock me out. Yeah, as it does, so well played on my opponent's end, and that is definitely the best Mega Blaziken team I have seen yet in VGC 14, which kind of makes sense given how high my opponent was rated on the ladder. So, hey, if you ever wanted to see Mega Blaziken work, you know, that's a perfect example. Speedy Tar makes a lot of sense too. I do think if you want to run Tyranitar, it does, you know, make a lot of sense to invest in speed, just because otherwise Bisharp can outspeed and one-hit KO you. So, a couple of key things there for my opponent. You know, one, outleading me was huge with Zapdos and Blaziken. Two, Zapdos being to hang on with that little HP and get the Roost off was really good as well. And I thought the Roost play from my opponent was also really clever when I protected with Bisharp and Scalded with Suicune. So, my opponent definitely made really good plays, and I think the Zapdos Blaziken lead in general just caught me off guard, and Mega Venusaur not being able to do anything definitely hurt a lot as well. Just because, you know, I kind of lost the Pokemon way too early, and that was one of the Pokemon I deemed essential to this matchup. So, I also really, like, if I just doubled into Zapdos that turn, I think I actually would have. Actually, no, in retrospect, I think I would have lost anyway, because my opponent had a Mungus as the last one. So all my opponent would have to do is was Rage Powder with the Mungus and low kick my Bisharp. So yeah, I don't think I actually had a way to win that match, just because Amoonguss was my opponent's last Pokemon. But it was at least kind of exciting to try to get back into this match, because, you know, you should definitely never give up. Play to your outs, hope for the best, expect the worst. But yeah, for example, if my opponent had Aegislash-Rolander's T in the back, I actually had a chance of winning, so that's why I didn't give up despite such a poor start. But yeah, that was a really, really fun match. Shoutouts to my opponent for an awesome team, and that was just really cool. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Of course, leave a like if you did. Check out the Apex matches if you have not already. Like I said, it is going to be in the description below. And yeah, that's it for this one, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, peace.